Hey, good morning from the AmpliPhi offices here in beautiful Madison, Wisconsin. Spencer X. Smith on October 4th, Friday, doing a LinkedIn Live with you on what I feel is one of marketing's most important jobs that you may not have considered before. So I have a unique position here at our company where I get to do a lot of our marketing work, but then also do the majority of our business development or sales work as well. And before this, I had come from purely a sales role. And at that company, or during those two stints that I had at two different companies over a 7-year period, I had to own a sales number. And by that, I mean you're assigned a number of what you need to sell. And in my case, it was a total amount of assets. And that asset amount ended up being at least 8 figures a year. And it could be as high as 9 figures in a year. Now, if you haven't been in sales before and you're in marketing and you're trying to support the salespeople, what I want you to understand is that salespeople have a really, really big psychological component to their jobs. So it's not just rational. It's not just, hey, I need to do this thing in order to achieve this number. It's how do I feel about myself and how do I feel about putting myself in a position of trying to sell something. So let's just talk through the psychology of it a little bit. Oftentimes when people first enter sales, they're told that they should take the number that they're given and break it down into manageable chunks. So let's just walk through this a little bit. Let's say you have a $12 million sales goal for a year, which makes the math really easy, right? So we have a $12 million sales goal, and what they're told typically is we'll take that number, take that big, broad annual number, and divide it into months to make it more manageable, to make it more chunked up so it's easy for you to determine what it is that you need to do. So if we divide that by 12, obviously that ends up being $1 million per month, right? Really, really easy math. Now the thing is if you're looking at this rationally as a salesperson on January 1st, and you go to the end of January, and you enter February and you haven't hit that $1 million sales goal, what happens is it starts to compound, right? So instead of $1 million in January, $1 million in February, if you didn't hit your number in January, you need to do $2 million in February just to catch up. And again, to the layperson, this may seem really rational, right? Just, well, do more and go sell more. But the big impeding factor for a lot of salespeople, including myself, right, is when you get behind on your sales number, it's hard to have the confidence to go out and make goals. So if you take that number first, that $1 million per month, and you maybe you break it down further and you go, well, let's not worry about the numbers. Let's just worry about the amount of deals, because the more deals that you'll get, the average will start to play out. So let's say in this case, again, $12 million sales number over a year divided by 12 is $1 million a month, right? And they look at the average sale, and let's say they go, well, you maybe get $500,000 on every sale. So if we do that math that way, then we have $12 million over the year divided by 24 deals, and that's $500,000, right? So we need to hit this 24 deals number. So if we hit, let's say, 1 deal in January, we're then left with 23 deals that we have to hit for February and on. Again, that's plays into the psychology of it. So regardless of how salespeople break it down or their sales managers break it down for them, oftentimes they go, man, if I'm behind, it's really hard to get caught up. And that affects your psyche, because oftentimes with salespeople, they're islands, and all they do is report to a manager, and then they have the peers that they hang out with. So if you've seen that classic bit from Glengarry Glen Ross where these salespeople are commiserating before the Alec Baldwin character comes in and tries to motivate them, salespeople have this echo chamber where oftentimes they'll lament that the leads aren't good, their pricing isn't good, their product isn't good, whatever it might be, and they look for things inside of that echo chamber to reinforce the fact why they're not doing very well. So let's talk about marketing's job. Back when I had my first 8-figure sales number, this was in 2008, and I traveled from Madison, Wisconsin down to a brand new sales territory in Indiana where I knew no one. What got me in the door with people that I had no relationship with before when I was cold calling and tasked with getting 16 in-person meetings per week was the brand for whom I worked. So I worked at the Hartford, and the Hartford is an insurance company that's been around since 1810. So when I would call people and say, hey, this is Spencer X. Smith, we've never met before, but I work at the Hartford, may I come by your office on Tuesday at 9 o'clock and see you? They'd go, yeah, you know what, I don't know you, but I know your brand, so I'm guessing that you wouldn't work for this brand that's reputable if you weren't at least somewhat good. So the brand, the marketing, all of that work, from sponsoring the NCAA basketball tournament back in the day, or just anything that the Hartford has done collectively over 2 centuries plus of branding, that got me in the door. Then I'd go through the sales process, right? So you'd get in the meeting, you'd discover, is there a need? Is there enough pain? Would they pay to alleviate that pain, et cetera? And we'd figure out, is there a good fit? Is there something we can do here to help you do something, right? So again, marketing, branding got me in the door, sales process happens, and then on the back end of the deal, right, when we go and actually sign on the line which is dotted, to again use that Glengarry Glen Ross reference, oftentimes we'd have to justify with that decision maker why they decided to go with our company, to go with the Hartford. So brand, marketing got me in the door, sales process, and at the end we'd go, like, you're going to sign on this dotted line, and they go, oh, which company are you with again? Because oftentimes it'd be a committee that would be making the decision, and they go, oh, we decided to go with the Hartford. And the committee would go, oh, yeah, we've heard of the Hartford. You mean that big insurance company? Yeah, that's good. So that would be the bookend on the back end as well. That's kind of fun to say, bookend on the back end. I never said that before. So we have branding on the front end, again, sales process, and then the back end to justify the decision, to reinforce the decision, it goes back to marketing. It goes back to brand. Now, this is something that if you're in marketing, I really, really, really want you to understand. The more that you do on marketing, the more you need to disseminate that information to your salespeople. Because salespeople, starting that week on Monday, right, they need a reason more than anything else to reach out to their prospects. And if you as a marketing professional are arming them with anything, it could be really good content that's educational. It could be something that reinforces your brand's image, or why your brand is successful, or why you're doing the right things in the community. It may be something about your leadership. It may be something about your culture. It's so important that we just don't relegate marketing's message to the public. We need to do internal marketing also. We need to say, we as a marketing department are doing all of this stuff on your behalf, salespeople. So when you're out making your calls, when you're making your first introductions, this is going to make you feel more confident. Because I tell you, there's this phenomenon in sales called call reluctance. And what call reluctance means is that phones suddenly get really heavy to pick up. And eventually you get to the point where you go, look, if I don't pick up the phone at all, I can't be told no. I can't be told no on a deal. I can't be told no for somebody not wanting to take a meeting with me, etc. But if you're constantly reinforcing that you should be proud to work for this company because our brand is supporting you doing sales or business development, that's going to yield wonderful results for you. So this is really tough, though, because oftentimes in marketing, we've gone from a lot of anecdotal stuff, like I've heard of you, I've seen you, you guys are doing great stuff, etc., to we need leads from you. We need a number. We need empirical data to show that marketing is actually driving leads. So somebody from an inbound perspective reaching out and saying, I see all of your stuff, I want to do business with you. Now I can tell you, in the 7 years, 2008 to 2015, 3,000 in-person sales meetings when I worked at the Hartford and then Nationwide, 2 huge, really well-known brands that spend a lot on marketing. I got zero inbound leads. Not a single lead came to me by way of all of our marketing where people said, yeah, I've heard of your company. I want to move our 401k, in the case where I sold 401ks, I want to move our 401k to you. Now, why is that? You might say, well, that's kind of weird. Those are 2 huge companies. Aren't there just constantly inbound leads? And the answer is no. And here's why, at least in my assessment. In that space, and in any professional services space right now, so I'm talking IT, accounting, financial services, engineering, social media, digital marketing, there's a lot of people out there doing business development. There's a lot of salespeople. So if there were no salespeople, we'd have a lot of inbound marketing leads because people would go, I see this brand, no one's calling on me to sell me this, so I need to proactively reach out. The more and more that you get bigger in professional services and you get in very competitive spaces that are very lucrative because of monthly recurring contracts, there's a lot of salespeople out there, which tells us that those whom you're trying to sell to, they don't need to contact you. They just have all of these salespeople constantly trying to solve their problems for them. So they don't need to go out and find somebody because they have people coming to them. So if you're in marketing, and you're tasked with some kind of MQL number, like a marketing qualified lead, and people are telling you, hey, we're not getting the leads that we want, what I try to do is reverse engineer how many other companies are proactively reaching out to the people to whom you're trying to sell, and discover if those salespeople are getting in from those other companies ahead of your marketing message. Because people are going to hear your marketing, but if you're not proactively reaching out and empowering your business development professionals at your company to reach out to those people as well, those people that you're trying to sell to are taking meetings with other salespeople, and they're just going to do business with them because they're solving their problems. So to put a bow on this thing, oftentimes marketing is tasked with finding something that's going to derive some kind of results, okay? Like we're going to put something out there and we're going to have all of this stuff happen as a result. But I feel like it's a lot squishier, if you will, than we give ourselves credit for in marketing, right? A lot of the stuff that we're doing is very quiet, and it builds up over a period of time, and then eventually, it's not an inbound lead, but it's eventually your salespeople getting in the door and having all of this stuff play out because you are empowering them to do so. So continue doing what you're doing, and I think you'll have better and better results as long as you don't look at the short term, as long as you look at long-term marketing, long-term brand building as your objective. Hope this helps, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday, and I look forward to talking to you on a LinkedIn Live next time. Thanks. See ya.